Hello and welcome to the Midweek Mashed Tattie Sportscast. This is MMA Mash, the weekly mixed martial arts roundup that features all the latest news and reviews from the UFC, One Championship, Bellator, the PFL, and so much more. My name is, of course, Mick, and as always, I'm joined at cage side by the man that's most question and answer. It's Mr. Paul Kerr, and the ever controversial Mr. Harvey A. Smith. How's it going, lads?
Good, man.
Very well, my friend. Hey, lads, what did the toaster say to the slice of bread? I want you inside me. Sorry.
Bad jokes.
Oh, Christ.
Oh, Jesus crikey. Okay, well, right, that just about covers it. Nothing to add. On that note, let's get it on. Oh dear. Right into the recaps this week. So, we've not that much to recap in actual fact. So we'll have a very quick look at the Road to UFC tournament, and then it'll be on to the main event. I'm guessing he's didn't watch any of it, but I'll ask, did you see any of the Road to UFC tournament?
No.
I don't know, my friend. No. No, I didn't.
I see, to be honest, I completely even forgot that was a thing. I know you spoke about
it was a thing.
I know you spoke about it, but I completely forgot about it.
Fair enough. To be fair, with it being a Fight Pass exclusive thing, like, it's not as if there's loads of adverts and marketing and all the rest of it. They haven't put that much on social media about it as well. There's been a wee bit, but not tons, so I can see why it could be forgotten about. So the first thing to cover here is that this is actually the second time they've done this. I didn't actually realise this. They previously did a tournament in 2015. So they did.
Right.
It was Road to UFC Japan. It was all Japanese fighters that was on it. It was a slightly smaller scale. I've got a wee quote here for the wiki on it, just for some basic details. So it says the Road to UFC Japan was the inaugural event in the Road to UFC series. It featured 8 Japanese featherweight fighters with former champion Josh Barnett and Roy Big Country Nelson serving as coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I mentioned last week, I kind of surmised that it was like a version of the Ultimate Fighter that didn't have the reality side, that didn't have them living in the house in Vegas and stuff like that. And it transpires that is what they went for the first time they did it, because they still had coaches and whatnot. And they had the finale to the tournament be on the same fight night card that featured the fight between the coaches, Josh Barnett and Big Country Roy Nelson. It was quite interesting the way they went about it. They've decided there was something to it, and they've came back to it again with what they're doing now, and they've went a wee bit bigger in terms of more fighters, more weight classes. It's like a full 8 fighters for across Asia rather than just one country. So it gives me a slightly different perspective on the tournament than what I had before I realised that they had actually did it before. But also it shows just kind of where their marketing and stuff's at, that I didn't even realise they did it before. And yet, you know, I'm like a diehard that watches everything, and I somehow didn't realise it was a thing. But nonetheless, it's been going on this week, the sort of first round of the tournament. So we now have the semi-final matchups. We don't yet know when the semi-finals are going to be. The general thought seems to be that it will be sort of tail end of summer, so August, September time. But I don't know if they've not announced it yet, when they're going to have it, or indeed where they'll have it. Unknown if they'll do another fight, another like pay-per-view or whatever in somewhere in Asia. And then that's where they'll host the next round or no, I don't know. I don't really have much more to add. Like, there was some really good fights. It's interesting the way they've put it together. So, like, if you go into Fight Pass, they've got it as 4 episodes.
Right.
They broadcast them live. So they basically did on the Thursday, they had from like UK time, they had, I think it was 6 a.m. they had like a 4-fight card, or 4 or 5 fight card, then took a wee break, then they were back on at 9 a.m. and then did the same again, and then Friday it was rinse and repeat. So this, for whatever reason, they split it up into these 4 shows across the 2 days. And there was some really fun fights. There was a couple of guys that kind of stood out for finishes and stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm interested to see if they go a bit bigger in terms of marketing and whatnot in the semi-finals. But so more to come on that when they sort of make an announcement on it. But that's about as much as I've got for these lads.
Okie dokie, fella. Okie dokie.
All right. Shall we move on to UFC 275?
Can't wait.
Aye.
Okay, so I'll run through the results quick, and then we'll talk about whatever we want to talk about. So, starting at the bottom on the undercard, we've got Jocelyn Edwards defeating Ramona Pascual via unanimous decision. We have Silvana Gomez Juarez defeating Liang Na via KO punches. Then we have Kyung Ho Kang defeating Batgarel Dana. That was a really good fight, actually. That was a unanimous decision victory. Then we've got Machete defeating Steve Garcia via KO. Then we had Brendan Allen defeating Jacob Malkoon via unanimous decision. I disagreed with that one, actually. I thought it should have been Jacob Malkoon that won, but we can come back to that. Joshua Kalibao defeating Seung Woo Choi via split decision. Then on the main card, we had Jack Della Maddalena defeating Ramazan Ameev via TKO. We had Jake Matthews very impressively defeating Andre Fiallo via KO. Zhang Wei Li very impressively defeating Joanna Jędrzejczyk via KO. Then Valentina Shevchenko just barely getting past Taylor Santos by split decision. And in the main event, Yuri Prochazka defeating Glover Teixeira to become the new light heavyweight champion. It was overall a pretty damn good card, I've got to say. Tons of good fights.
Mm-hmm. It was indeed, mate. It was a very fun card. There was a bit there for everybody, really, wasn't
there? There definitely was. Would I be right in saying that you have focused more on the main card?
As always, Michael, I am shamelessly a main card man.
Okay. Fair enough. Have you seen much of the undercard?
No, I haven't seen much of the undercard, to be honest.
Right, okay. So, as I say, Kyung Ho Kang and Batgarel Dana, phenomenal fight. I really enjoyed that one. And the other thing that kind of stands out, Kalibao and Seung Woo Choi, that was a really fun fight as well. But the talking point for me, the undercard, was Brendan Allen and Jacob Malkoon. So the story of the fight was effectively Brendan Allen trying to strike for distance, Jacob Malkoon trying to grapple. And in each of the 3 rounds, Malkoon was able to get a hold of Brendan Allen, and he was able to take him down repeatedly. It was 7 takedowns across the 3 rounds. When he had him down, he was stuck to him like glue. He was constantly moving, advancing, throwing strikes, trying to advance his position. But he never maintained the position for a serious length of time in any of the rounds. It was very much like 20-30 seconds, like he's got him down, he's trying to advance, he's trying to strike, and then Brendan Allen scrambles, gets these feet, and then go again. It's another takedown kind of thing, rinse and repeat over and over. When they were standing at distance, Brendan Allen was definitely getting the better of the striking, but for me, as much as generally speaking I don't like the kind of like wrestle fuck approach where it's just trying to take down and hold and do nothing, I don't think that should really be a way that you can win a fight, just be holding on to somebody. Jacob Malkoon was really active, and he was controlling where the fight was effectively, because Brendan Allen spent most of the fight trying to avoid takedowns and try to scramble back to his feet after getting taken down. So I did not agree with that. result, I've got to say. I felt like Mulcohen, there was an argument for the first round, but I felt like Mulcohen won the second and third rounds fairly comfortably. So I was surprised at Brendan Allen getting the victory there.
Fair play.
On the main card, a lot going on, man. A lot to talk about. I think just so that we're not here for too long, we'll just kind of breeze past Jack Della Maddalena and Ramazan Emeev. It was a fun fight for as long as it lasted. It was only lasted a couple of minutes. It was, I mean, a good effort, I would say, for Ramazan Emeev, but it very much looked like Jack Della Maddalena's fight, effectively. The story seemed to be that Emeev had the grappling advantage while Maddalena had the striking advantage, and I mean that's kind of how it played out. Maddalena getting the TKO victory, big to basically knocked him down and then finished him on the ground. It was quite impressive for him, but there's a lot to talk about in the main card beyond that, so I think we'll pretty much leave that one there unless there's anything you want to say on it.
No, nothing great really. It was a pretty straightforward fight, really. Probably the only thing on the main card that wasn't newsworthy, really.
Aye, which is it's strange that like a first round finish should be top news kind of thing on the main card, first round stoppage, but there's that much going on that it's no. So next up we had Jake Matthews defeating Andre Fiallo. That was 2 rounds of carnage. Jake Matthews looked sensational in his previous fights.
Phenomenal.
In his previous fights, he looked like this young guy for Australia with a lot of potential, really athletic, but like missing that extra something, that something special. In this fight, he put on a clinic, man. He could not miss.
No, it was tremendous, man. Just picking his shots all the way through, controlled the fight. I mean, out of the 3 years, I'm the guy that comes in with the least MMA sort of knowledge of fighters and that, and I didn't realise that the guy he was facing was the one that everybody thought was the favourite here. The guy getting into it with a bit of momentum, as it were, with a lot of good performances recently.
Yep.
And your man for Australia just dealt with him, comfortably dealt with him, all the way through.
Andre Fiallo, like he's the guy on form. He's the guy with the more experience, the bigger name. Like it should have been his fight to lose, but Jake Matthews had another idea, man. He was in a different level in this fight. Supposedly he's in preparation for this fight, he's been working with a new boxing coach, and that's massively paid off because his boxing was so much better than it's been before.
I couldn't believe that this was only his second fight in like the space of 12 months as well, Matthews.
He's not been massively active.
He's been very inactive, even over the past 2 years. It's literally 2 fights in 2 years, one of which he's been.
I think with him being based in Australia, the pandemic's probably hampered his ability to take fights, I would imagine. I don't know if there's been anything else going on beyond that, but that's what I would put it down to on kind of first look. But very impressive. I'm intrigued to see where they go next with him. Like they should be doing a bit of marketing with him. He's got the look. He's clearly got the talent, the ability, and he's put it all together in that fight. So I'm thinking you want to be making a big deal out of his next fight and giving him a good challenge to make sure he's the next kind of contender that they want to build up. But I was very impressed, I have to say. Now, title eliminator fight for the strawweights. Zhang Weili and Joanna Jędrzejczyk. That was not like the first fight. Obviously, this was a rematch that they were having. They'd fought previously in an all-time classic. Jędrzejczyk seemed to come out with a different game plan for the first fight. She was throwing a lot of low kicks, a lot of calf kicks, try to stay at distance and trying not to engage in too much grappling or too much sort of clinch fighting or anything like that. She was trying to stay on the outside. Zhang Weili looked more composed in the first fight. Again, she wasn't diving head first into firefights. She was trying to sort of pick her time to get inside without just going crazy. But ultimately it was a sort of crazy kind of break for a clinch sort of situation on the inside that led to the finish.
I mean, Jędrzejczyk, or how the fuck you say that second name, sorry, Hen. Cannot say that. Joanna took the Ric Flair bump effectively off of that back elbow for the win.
Aye.
Never seen that, Harvey, where Ric Flair does the walk, belly swap. That was it was like a delayed reaction for that, man.
So Zhang Weili breaking away and throwing what I mean, you see it in slow motion, it looks delayed, like she kind of half spun, thought about it, then threw the back fist. It wasn't like an explosive sort of one movement thing. But anyway,
did you not feel it was a matter of time though until something like that happened in the fight? Like, she looked exhausted going into that second round for the kind of the ground exchange, I thought.
Aye, so
it seemed to leave its mark on the kind of
in the first round. In the first round, Jędrzejczyk ended up in the bottom, and Zhang Weili was on top and absolutely nailing her with elbows. And when Joanna got up for the break between rounds, she looked a bit shell shocked. She didn't seem comfortable. She seemed tired, and she seemed a bit, I don't know if dazed is the right word, but
definitely
she didn't enjoy it. But she came back out for the second round relatively composed. She wasn't doing anything crazy, but it definitely seemed like Zhang Weili was the more sort of confident fighter, I would say, in the second round. She didn't necessarily fear the power of Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who, to be fair, Jędrzejczyk's never been a power puncher. She's always, when she's TKO'd fighters, it's been through volume and accumulation of punishment rather than like a one-shot power. So just about halfway through the second round, they get into an exchange in the inside. Couple of good shots for Joanna, but Zhang Weili kind of stepped away for it, threw the back fist, and when it caught Jędrzejczyk, like you say, Paul, there was that kind of stutter step, that moment of like she tried to lunge forward, and then her body just shut down in her, and then she went.
And that's the end. That's the end of her, obviously.
And then so ultimately the big story there is that subsequently in the post-fight interview, Joanna Jędrzejczyk announced that she is retiring. After 20 years of combat sports, she's decided she wants to explore other avenues of business and make money, and she also wants to have a family.
I mean, that's fair enough, obviously. She's in her mid-30s now. She's lost 5 out of the last 7, getting back over sort of 5 years now. It's only gone one way, I think, isn't it, mate? Really, as far as it goes as a fighter.
The division's effectively passed her by. It's sort of through no real fault of her own. It's just that her skill set hasn't massively changed in the last kind of 8-9 years. She's probably made small improvements here and there, but ultimately she's this really good technical striker, good cardio, who's, her grappling's probably been steadily improving and stuff like that, but she's never been able to add explosive one-shot power. She's never been able to become phenomenal at takedowns or anything like that. So as the girls in the division have built up and kind of got on her level with the striking, they've had other tools that have allowed them to surpass her.
It definitely feels like that. Passing her by would be the best description of her kind of career. As effectively.
It's one of the things, like, it's no her generation anymore. It's really difficult for any fighter to stay on top for any more than 4 or 5 years. It's only the absolute cream of the crop that can hang around for the 10, 15, 20 years that sometimes you see. So it's just is what it is. She seems pretty content with her choice as well. She was. I noticed there was a different
body language in her, even in the build up to the fight. There was none of the kind of theatrics and the kind of the intimidation shite that she kind of got into. So, honestly, I had a lot more respect for her this weekend than I have previously, because I found some of her antics before to be embarrassing for a grown ass woman.
I never thought she was a good champion.
She was a poor example of how to behave as a champion.
Similar to Ronda Rousey, she's somebody that she needed a bit of a bit of hatred and animosity to get up for a fight. She needed to, even if there was nothing there, she had to create a bit of tension between her and her opponent so that she could make herself kind of hate her and really wanted to hurt her. It seemed to be something that was part of her prep for a fight, and that can come across wrong. You know what I mean?
I think that kind of recklessness can help you in a situation as well if you're needing to kind of grind through a win.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously that recklessness always kind of catches up on you, as you've seen with the likes of Rousey. Like, it makes you careless, and that's, I think, what happened to her at the top, really, wasn't it?
Not to mention, I wrote her off, I have to say, after she lost the first time to Rose Namajunas, because after that knockout, she was very dismissive of Rosie's performance, and she basically tried to say like it was just like it was like bad luck on her part, like it was a one-off, like she had a bad weight cut and that's why she was susceptible to the knockout, and like she's making excuses and just no behaving. Like she was the champion going into the fight. It seemed like she should be gracious in defeat and like saying like I'll be better for the rematch, I'll come back better, bigger, stronger kind of thing, but instead she was like been a bit bitchy and stuff about it. But yeah, c'est la vie. She's had a great career, all the best to her and whatever she does next kind of thing. Co-main event of the evening, Valentina Shevchenko and Taylor Santos. I mentioned last week that Taylor Santos had all the tools to beat Shevchenko, but it would be hard to bet against Shevchenko. Kind of what we saw there, although I have to say, very surprised at the tactics by Shevchenko, like constantly going back to the sort of head and arm takedown and trying to grapple with somebody who's just a superior grappler.
It was, I mean, what did you think about the decision? Like, as a kind of, it's a split decision, wasn't it, in the end? Do you think it was as close as that? So
48-47 Shevchenko, 48-47 Santos, and then 49-46 Shevchenko. That was the three scorecards. I think 48-47 Shevchenko would probably be the right choice there. I think Shevchenko did just enough to sort of edge or be around, but it was a good performance for Santos. She just needed to be more aggressive in the feet at times, I think. I can see why she wouldn't want to be with Shevchenko, who's a fearsome striker.
Obviously a kickboxer.
But I think at times she allowed Shevchenko to take control a bit too much in the feet and delay her ability to get into the grappling exchanges, and I think that's what's cost her. Because any time they grappled, apart from the last round where Shevchenko was on top for a bit, anytime they grappled, it was effectively Santos that was getting the better of it.
I mean, there was a couple of close calls, obviously, in the first and second round, wasn't there? Where she's got her back and she's under pressure.
She had a good amount of ground control in the first round, had her back for a good amount of time. Second round came really close to locking up a real naked choke. But then, sort of midway through the fight, she's took her foot off the gas on the feet and allowed Shevchenko to control that third round a bit more. And eventually it did go into grappling, they did hit the ground a bit, but that for me is that's what's lost Santos that fight. Shevchenko winning the third round has been the difference maker there. If she'd kept the pressure on and forced the grappling a bit more in the third round, potentially there would have been a submission win there, or maybe tire Shevchenko out so that she couldn't strike quite as well come the fourth round or whatever. I don't know.
Grind the kind of striking ability out, but it's a correct decision, I would say, as much as it's a tough fight. Probably the closest she's came to a defeat in a long time.
Aye. I'd say since Shevchenko's won the belt, that's her hardest fight so far. Absolutely. But I think that's 8 defences now for Shevchenko. Like, she's having one hell of a run. She's at that point now where it's kind of unfortunate, like what's happening above her, because this is the point where you want to think about having her step up to bantamweight for a big money fight with Amanda Nunes. So they've fought previously.
That's right, Nunes won.
Amanda Nunes, I think, is the last person to beat Shevchenko.
Twice she's beat her already. I didn't even realise that, to be honest.
It was at bantamweight. It was before Shevchenko moved to 125, because obviously the UFC didn't used to have the flyweight division for the women. They just had strawweight and bantamweight initially. They didn't have that division in between for whatever stupid reason. So Aye, it would be interesting to see, but now obviously Amanda Nunes coming off the loss against what's her face?
Our lassie that looks like Ugly Betty. God, what is her name? Juliana Pena.
That's it, Pena.
She looks like the actress who plays Ugly Betty, honestly.
Aye, so they're obviously there in the midst of doing the Ultimate Fighter. They will be having their rematch in about a month and a half. I want to say it's July. So like a month and a half or something like that. A month and a half. They're having their rematch. So potentially the winner of that versus Shevchenko down the road, but I don't know. It's a shame that's happened. But if Nunes was still on top at bantamweight, then that would be the fight to make 100%. Big money fight, but aye, we'll see what happens now. Main event of the evening: Jiří Prochazka defeating Glover Teixeira in a 5-round crazy back and forth. One hell of a main event. Jiří Prochazka is now the UFC light heavyweight champion. What a fight, lads!
My fight of the year. I would go as far
Fight of the year?
Is my fight of the year. Yeah, that is the most enjoyable fight I've watched as a fan this year. Just the backwards and forwards, and you just could not predict it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the Scottish weather. It really was. It went one way, it went the other way on the space
There was
of a
grappling, there was striking, there was wrestling.
It was crazy. Absolutely. I loved it. It was dramatic. If they could not have come up with a more dramatic fight if they'd planned it. As far as I'm concerned. I really enjoyed it, lads.
I think the only thing that could have made that crazier would have been like more like knockdowns. If they'd been doing the all weeble wobble. I don't know if is that too obscure? Weeble's wobble, don't fold out.
Takes a hell of a load to weeble wobble old Glover, man.
What a
that
chin
old man's chin is incredible.
I don't even know what to say about it, man. It was just absolutely mental for 5 rounds. Non-stop craziness. And then 30 seconds to go, Jiří Prochazka. Now, I nearly said Jiří Prochazka locks in a real naked choke, but he didn't, because he had no body control. He just squeezed Glover's neck, and apparently he squeezed it enough that Glover tapped out. He couldn't see a way out.
Do you think that's just sheer exhaustion on Glover's part, that he's maybe thought he was in more trouble than he was to tap there? Or he literally put on the vice grip to end all vice grips?
I think only Glover can answer that.
Aye.
It looked really, really tight when you see the replay for the other angle. It looked really, really tight. But it's hard to imagine that there wasn't something that Glover could have done, because Jiří didn't have any control of the body whatsoever. It was effectively like, I mean, Glover was on his knees. It was kind of on all fours. And aye, it was kind of like the kind of, it was almost a, what do you call it? What is that? The schoolyard choke.
Aye. Mm-hmm.
Schoolyard, aye.
That's what they call it in jiu-jitsu, when you get that kind of side headlock, schoolyard choke. So it was almost like that, but it was the real naked grip rather than, you know, like the schoolyard choke. You would go sort of palm to palm and turn your side into it. But I don't know. It's just, you would think that Glover would be able to spin into it, but
with his experience, and I mean, he'd done it through the fight, where any time Prochazka had tried something, Glover had manoeuvred him where he wanted him to be, very comfortably, really.
Glover's a long time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, very experienced grappler, very experienced fighter. It's possible that physical and mental fatigue at that point in the fight played a factor in it, but it's also possible that Jiří Prochazka can just squeeze that hard that Glover felt like if he moved, his neck was going to snap, and the only choice was to tap. It's also possible to see that something that's worth explaining, right, to anybody that's never been put in a real naked choke. It takes approximately 3.5-4 seconds to choke somebody unconscious once the choke is locked in. So it's also entirely possible that Glover felt himself going out and just decided to tap.
Aye.
That's true. Aye.
because if the choke is tight enough, if it's applied properly, and blood is cut off on both sides, so both carotid arteries are cut off, blood's not getting to your brain, it takes less than 4 seconds for you to go to sleep. So you have, and obviously the last second of that is like the black walls are coming in and you're starting to go out. So realistically, you've got 2 seconds to decide how you're going to defend. You're going to 2 seconds to figure out what do I need to do here. So you have to go off of instinct. You don't have the luxury of like looking at the replays and checking out what way do I move here, like seeing it feel like a kind of outer body experience, like looking at the screen, seeing what's happening above you. Like you've got to just, whatever your instinct is, you go with it, and then either you go to sleep or you make your way out the choke. On this occasion, Glover tapped. It would be interesting to see him explain what was happening in that moment, but aye, as I say, you've not got a lot of time to think about it.
By the way, it's been confirmed he was 30 seconds for a win.
Right.
Scorecards. I'll just list them here, lads. I've got them up, so I have. So one judge had it, Michael Bell had it, 2 rounds each going into the final round. And I mean, I think it's fair to say that before that kind of choke, it was probably Glover's round, really. In a lot of
I would say Glover was out in the 5th round, yeah.
Aye, so I mean, 2-2, and then he's probably winning that final round. Ben Cartledge had it 39-37 Glover, and Clemens Werner had it 38-37 Glover.
Okay.
So I mean, going by the judges' scorecard there, he was just about there, like
28 seconds.
Yep.
28 seconds for a really an epic defence, like it's unreal, man. It's the fine wee margins, at the top level, like
aye,
wild. What did you think of it anyway, Mick? Did you think do you agree with these scores, or
I can see the arguments for them. For me, I was kind of, at best I would have said 2 apiece, but I was leaning towards Yuri a bit. I was thinking Prochazka may have just had it 3-1 going into that last round, but
right, so you were more Prochazka.
I can certainly see an argument for 2 apiece going into the last round. But I believe watching it, I said, because obviously I watched that main event with you guys kind of live there, so I don't know if you will remember, but I think I said going into the last round, whoever wins this round wins.
Aye, that was literally your quote. Aye.
Like it was very close. So, aye, I'm not too mad at the scorecards. I don't think. I think to say that Glover was winning 3-1 is a stretch, but
I don't know if I totally agree with 3-1 either. I'm kind of more where you are. I'd probably sit 2 rounds apiece. Like, but that's probably fair enough.
Aye,
fucking hell, what a fight!
You might be right, Paul, in saying that's fight of the year so far. That was one hell of a fight. I would say it's definitely the main event of the year so far.
Aye.
Only thing that would be close to that was Charles Oliveira and
Gaethje.
Justin Gaethje, that's the one.
Aye.
Wild. Just utterly wild. What a fight. Bravo to both guys.
Aye, absolutely.
Unsurprisingly, that got the fight of the night bonus. So both guys got to get the extra dosh. There's not really too much in the way of an argument against that. And interestingly, just last note on 275, for whatever reason, they decided, rather than the traditional 2 performance bonuses, they decided to award everybody that won a fight via stoppage to get a 50,000 bonus, which is interesting. So Zhang Wei Li, Jake Matthews, Jack Della Maddalena, Mahashati, and Silvana Gomez Suarez all getting $50,000 for stoppage victories there. So that's pretty cool. I like that more than, even if it was a wee bit less than the 50,000, like they went to like 30,000, say. I prefer that, just like if you get a stoppage win, you get a bonus. I prefer that over like this kind of like relying on somebody's opinion of who did better than somebody else. Kind of thing.
It's a lot fairer.
Aye.
More incentive to finish a fight as well.
I mean that ties into the whole kind of fighter pay thing as well. Like a lot of fighters have a split pay, so they get show money and they get win money. I think they should have a flat rate, like you get 50 grand, whatever your own, whatever your contract is, you get that much to turn up and have your fight. And then if you happen to win via stoppage, then you get a bonus. That seems fairer across the board to me, but hey, I don't know. Interestingly, I meant to bring this up 2 or 3 episodes ago actually, but I keep forgetting about it. So UFC, I don't know if you've noticed, UFC have got a big deal with Crypto.com now. And I think, I want to say like 2 or 3 fight cards ago, they started doing a fan vote through Crypto.com. And then whoever, the top 3 on the fan vote get extra dosh. So on this card, Valentina Shevchenko won the fan vote and got a $30,000 bonus. However, the bonus is paid in crypto. They don't get it in cash. And then Prochazka got second, so he got a 20,000 crypto bonus. And Zhang Weili got third, so she got a 10,000 crypto bonus. It's like an interesting thing they're doing.
That's a different kind of way of doing it. I don't mind that.
Cool, man. That 30,000 could go sky high.
Well, that's the thing. Like, they could choose to leave it in their wallet as crypto.
But which crypto? Do you know which currency it was, though?
I don't know.
It's Crypto.com is the sponsor.
They're doing it through Crypto.com, but I don't know so what currency they're paying.
It has all different cryptocurrencies on there.
I don't know enough about that.
So Crypto.com is where you can go and...
So it's a marketplace as opposed to a...
So I don't know if it's... My guess would be it'll either be Bitcoin or... what's the other one that's really popular now? I can't even think off the top of my head. There's another one that's...
No
Dogecoin, no.
Yes, I remember somebody telling me. So it's a weird name, man.
It's a C or a K or something. It's a K sound. Anyway, this wasn't the crypto podcast. This is the MMA Mash.
The midweek crypto.
It's interesting, but obviously they've then got the choice of, and I mean, that's tax-free money, being that it's cryptocurrency, so they've got the choice of, they get that full money, and then they've got the choice of leaving it in crypto, and then possibly the value of that can shoot away up. They can leave it there as an investment and make a bit of money on it.
Ethereum.
That's the one I was thinking of. So it's an interesting wee thing. It's cool that the fans get like a vote like that. I would not agree with that if that was more of a sort of core portion of their income, but because it's just like it's a nice wee bonus, I'm totally cool with
it's pretty
fan vote. It's quite a cool thing. Aye.
Do you know how much it is for an Ethereum these days?
No idea.
1,000, like a share of $1,731
to $1
for
one Ethereum.
For an Ethereum.
Pretty mad. Bitcoin's up around there as well.
Bitcoin right now is
Bitcoin's more, I think, actually.
Bitcoin's at 29,000.
Oh, Jesus. Aye. Actually, since we're talking about it, if anybody out there's got any interest in that side of things, there's a few podcast apps that have a sort of built-in function that allows you to tip your podcasts of choice and the hosts that you like and stuff like that with cryptocurrency. There's one in particular called Fountain that will actually give you Bitcoin just for making an account, and then it allows you to use that like without putting any of your own money in. You can then give bonuses to your favourite podcast. It's quite a cool thing. I'm not trying to like push it or anything. Like, I'm not saying like I'm not going to beg anybody to go and do it, but it's like a
I'll gild off you.
It's like
fucking money.
It's like an evolution of technology and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of cutting edge type stuff. So it's I kind of wonder if more podcast apps will sort of follow along with that, and if like in the near future you'll see like Spotify and Apple and the kind of major players have that sort of function built into them. It's quite cool. Anyway, moving along. Back to MMA. So UFC 275 was a banger. There was some cracking fights on there. Highly recommend you go and watch it if he's having. Although why you would sit and listen to us reviewing it if you haven't seen it, I don't know. Anyway, next week we have on June 17th PFL 4 for the 2022 season. We have on the undercard Bruno Miranda versus Nate Jannerman, Martin Hamlet versus Josh Silveira, Rob Wilkinson versus Victor Pesta, Emiliano Sordi versus Dalen Monte, Natan Schultz versus Marcin Held, Omari Akhmedov versus Theodoros Oxtioulos.
This is good enough as that, mate.
And on the main card, we've got Jeremy Stevens versus Miles Price, Roche Manfino versus Olivier Aubin-Mercier, Antonio Carlos Jr. versus Bruce Soto, and Clay Collard versus Alexander Martinez. And that is coming at you live and in colour from the Overtime Elite Arena, Atlanta, Georgia. June 18th, following night, we have UFC Fight Night Austin. That's at the Moody Center in Austin, Texas. The undercard is Roman Dolidze versus Kyle Dawkins. Phil, that's interesting. Kyle Dawkins is pretty damn good. I don't know why he's the opening fight of the night. That's interesting. We then have Phil Hawes versus Darren Wynn. We have Eddie Winland versus Cody Stamen. Maria Oliveira versus Gloria De Paula. Ricardo Ramos versus Daniel Chavez. That's good fight. Court McGee versus Jeremiah Wells. Big fan of Court McGee. Jasmine Justukovic versus Natalia Silva. Adrian Yanez versus Tony Kelly. Then main card we have Julian Marquez versus Gregory Rodriguez. Damir Ismagulov versus Guram Kutateladze. Jacqueline Buckley versus Albert Durev. Kevin Holland, the superhero, versus Tim Means. I don't know if you've heard about that guy, but he always seems to be he's like a vigilante type. He always seems to be stopping robberies and helping folk that have crashed their car and mad things. Donald Cowboy Cerrone coming back versus Joe Lozon. That's the fight that was meant to happen a couple of months ago, and I had to postpone it. That is an absolute belter of a fight, man. That's the people's main event right there. And then the main event of the night is Calvin Cater versus Josh Emmett, which is another cracker. So, some pretty good fights next week.
Should be fun.
Looking forward to it as always. Any final thoughts, lads? Shake of the head from Harvey.
No,
A shake of the head from Harvey.
Just feel sorry for Glover.
Aye, that would be my final.
Took so long to get the belt, and then 28 seconds away.
He got the movie moment. Unfortunate, he couldn't defend the title.
You see him coming back to try and
he'll fight again. Whether he fights his way back into a title shot again, I don't know.
That's what I meant. You think he'll be back for a title?
The division's a bit up in the air. The guys that were seemingly like the next generation have all faltered. Like Dominic Reyes, Thiago Santos, a couple other guys, even Jan Blachowicz, who had obviously took the title and seemingly was going to hold on to it for a while. Glover was able to beat him, so it's all a wee bit up in the air. And the thing with Yuri Prochazka is that as much as he's really good and really talented, he's very young in his career. He's only 29, doesn't have tons of experience, and he's very untechnical, if that's a term.
Very reckless.
He's wild with his striking style. Even his grappling style is wild. He just jumps in submissions like without focusing on positional control and stuff. So there's a lot of holes in his game. As much as he would be a formidable opponent for anybody in that division, there's a lot of holes in his game. So I don't see him, unless he makes some serious sort of technical adjustments to his game, I don't see him holding the belt for too long. I do see him, however, being a multiple time champion. I can see him losing the belt in his sort of first or second defence, depending on who they put him against. And then he has to kind of get his shit together and build back up. And then, he's got all the tools to be a really good champion. So, time will tell.
Indeed.
Well, this has been MMA Mash. I have been Mick. They have been Harvey and Paul. We've had a good time. Hope you have. See you again next week. Cheer bye.
Ta-ta, driver.
Bye.
Bye.